Alright guys, thanks very much for listening to this video. Before we start, can I please ask that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you enjoy the video, please drop a like and a comment in the comment section below. All that stuff helps this podcast reach as many people as possible. So let's just get into this conversation with a member of the Jamaican Bobsled Team, Mr. Matthew Wekpe.
Mate, Matthew, very nice to meet you. Thank you for coming on. I've been incredibly excited to speak to you. So as I was saying to you, this is a very rugby heavy show. So you're my first dual sport athlete and my first Winter Olympian. So, mate, welcome. How are you? And just as a way of an introduction, could you tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your background, and I guess how you got into bobsled?
Cool. Growing up, I started playing footy. So I don't know if you guys call it soccer. But we started playing football at a young age. I wasn't the best at football. I was just good at kicking the ball hard. And then moving into secondary school, because I was always quite quick, and one of the teachers actually recognised me and said, "Hey, you're a strong guy, you're quick. Why don't you try rugby?" So from the age of like 12, 13, I started playing rugby for my school, and then got into club rugby. And then around the age of 14, 15, I actually injured my wrist, dislocated it in a game, and wasn't able to kind of obviously play rugby for a while. So I was like, hey, I can still use my legs. Let's pick up athletics. And in my first year, I actually done pretty well. I reached national standard and went to a competition called National English Schools, which is really cool. Got to the final. Done that for a few years before then the hamstring injuries come with athletics, sprinters. I guess a lot of people can they'll understand what happens. But a lot of injuries happen obviously with the hamstring. So then was like, hey, I can get back into rugby. Still got a quickness, so got back into that. Was playing rugby for a while and have been, and literally over lockdown, so obviously COVID happened and I wasn't able to play. So obviously I play for the Jamaican Rugby Sevens team as well. So I kind of gave up 15s after maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and was like, I'm just going to give Rugby Sevens a go. So at the moment I'm playing for the Jamaican Rugby Sevens team. And over lockdown, the pilot of the bobsleigh team reached out to the Jamaican Sevens team because we have a load of players based in London, in England. Yeah. Because his brakeman, who was stuck in Jamaica, and with COVID and the traveling and getting visas, it was so difficult. So he was like, "Hey, do any of you guys want to try out for the Jamaican bobsleigh team?" And I was like, "You know what? Not doing anything else. I'm training a bit, but not doing anything else. So why not give it a go?" So I was like, "Hey." I'll give it a go. So maybe 2-3 weeks later, he had like a little trial, just kind of test your speed and like explosiveness. So we had like a 30-meter sprint test, we had a broad jump test, and we had like a medicine ball which you throw in front of you, just kind of show your power. Yeah. And I done pretty well, and I was announced in the team, and literally another 3 weeks later, it was my first ever time on ice on the highest level of bobsleigh before the Olympics.
So sorry, can I ask about that? How did you train for that? So was it a matter of you do your physical test and then all of a sudden you're in a tournament, you're running on ice, you're jumping in the bobsled? Is that how quick it was for you?
Yeah. So I'd never seen a bobsleigh in my life. And we're talking, this is around now 13 months ago. So the beginning of December was my first ever time. 2020 was the first ever time, I saw a bobsleigh. So I literally, so let's just say the competition was on a Saturday. The Monday/Tuesday was my first time ever seeing a sled, getting on ice and going down a track. So it was yeah.
So how did you train for it? Did you guys have like a facility or something in London, or was it a matter of you practice your sprinting, your weights, and then all of a sudden you get early to the tournament and all right, this is our practice before the tournament? How did it work?
It was, it wasn't the most ideal situation for me. Obviously, with COVID, gyms were closed. I did have access to a gym,
Yeah.
But it was literally just off the training I had done previous to that. So over lockdown, I'd be doing my little like weights, doing the sprints, and that was it. So it was literally turn up, learn how to push a sled, get in, and just pray that we don't crash.
What was it like going down the sled thing for what do they call it? The ice
bobsled sleds.
Yeah.
Sleds.
Yeah, no, the bobsled, the sled I get, but the ice thing that they call it, where you
Just
actually
the track.
Yeah, the track. What was it like going down the track for the first time? Because I could imagine like bobsled's pretty fast, and if you hadn't done it before, that would be a pretty crazy sort of first experience. What was that like?
So the funny thing is, the first time that I went down, I wasn't that scared. Because I guess I didn't know what to expect. It was the second time that I went down that I was like, okay, this is quick. I was more ready for it because, you're on some tracks, you're reaching up to 100 miles an hour, and you're pulling around 5 Gs. So it does take it out of you.
So, okay. So this was about 13 months ago, correct?
Yeah.
So you jump in a sled for the first time. What's the process like of actually qualifying for the Winter Olympics? Because to me, that seems an absurdly quick amount of time to start the sport, and then all of a sudden you go into the Winter Olympics. And I believe you guys qualified reasonably well, didn't you?
Yeah, so we actually qualified in the top 50%. So that is like a big achievement for us as a nation.
Absolutely.
And especially this year, and this Olympics was the hardest qualifying period. So it was, points wise, every year on Olympics previous, they could, achieve a spot in the games with lower points. But in this year, we had to pull it out of the bag.
So is there a qualifying tournaments that you have to go to? Do you have to do well in the World Series? Like, what is the actual process like for a bobsled team to qualify for the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, so there's 3 ways. There's 3 ways of getting to the games. There's the World Cup, which is with the highest tier. Then you have the EC, which is the Europa Cup, which is around Europe, and then you have the NAC, which is North American Cup. We actually decided to do the North American Cup because it was more beneficial to us. We had the coaches, we had our equipment out there, so it was more cost effective. And it does turn into to planning things right. What team's going to be where. Less teams there are, the more points you can get. So it was just a kind of matter of deciding, hey, this is the best chance that we can get to the Olympics. So the competition starts around from November till the 16th of January. That's a kind of qualifying period.
Yeah.
So you have to do at least 8 races. Sorry, at least 7 races, and they take your best score. It's 7 races, and they take you can do how many races you want, but they take your best 7 positions and rank you accordingly.
Yeah. So if you go on more races and you might get a faster time, that they'll take that time. So
yeah,
is that how it works?
Yeah, it is beneficial. Because you can do how many races you want, and if you do, you get top 5 a few times, and you get like a 16th. They can wipe that 16th out and take all your best top 5 results. If that makes sense, if you had 7 top 5,
it does. Yeah. So once you've qualified. What's the reaction been like? I follow you on Instagram, and it looks like it's been pretty wild as soon as they made the announcement that you're in. Like, what's it been like from your perspective?
It's been crazy because especially the foreman I speak for. We were a new kind of team. We were a new crew. We'd never kind of loaded into a sled together. We didn't know how it was going to go, but we decided to go out to Lake Placid in September to kind of gel as a team and just learn. And because they have an amazing ice house in Lake Placid that you can it's like a slope, you go down and up and then it goes back. So you can kind of practice loading in the sled, so the driver can practice, even a 2-man, how to hit a sled. So, that was a big part of it. And, it wasn't easy at the start, jumping a sled and, being on the handles can be quite a bit difficult. And there was, a few times some of us kind of fell off the sled. But if we didn't have that kind of 4 weeks in Lake Placid, I don't think the season would have gone how we wanted to for the 4-man, for sure.
So So what about the public reaction? Obviously, the Cool Runnings movie, you know, I grew up obsessed with that movie, so I was, you know, very, very excited to talk to you. But what's the public reaction been like since that announcement? Because, I mean, Australia doesn't really have a winter, we're a big island as well. And coming from Jamaica, the Jamaican Bobsled Team, it's quite an amazing story. But for you, has there been a lot of public attention as well now since the team's been announced to the Olympics?
Oh yeah, there's been a lot, media coverage and just, members of the public, everyone loves the Cool Runnings movie. Everyone, so many different generations have grown up watching it. And, it's one of the first things people actually ask, are you Cool Runnings? Are they going to make a movie? But yeah, we love it, because I grew up watching it, and it's a movie that I love and still watch to this day. Actually watched it recently. So, I relate to it, and just to be able to kind of live that dream and, you're part of something is just an amazing feeling.
Mate, I reckon if you get a medal, they will make a movie about you guys, 100%. But what about the influence those guys had on Jamaican culture? Like from an Australian perspective, you look at it and go, this is awesome. Watching it. But for you guys who are actually in the Jamaican bobsled team, have those guys who were the first team, what influence have they had an influence on you guys? Do you know them? What's the Jamaican culture like? What's the take on them, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it's massive. And, the head of our federation is Chris Stokes, and he was actually one of the members of that 1988 crew who went to the Olympics. So it's massive. And, to be able to kind of like carry on that kind of legacy has been amazing. And I think, the whole of Jamaica is proud. We're a small nation. We don't have ice in our country, but the fact that we've come together and we've been able to kind of get a place in the Olympics has been amazing. And we've had so much love.
I could imagine it would be very, very special. What's some of the preparation been like since you've qualified for the games? So obviously you're in London. What's the preparation like individually and for the team as you work towards Beijing?
I think go on.
So I was just going to say, is it just individual, gym, sprinting, your individual prep, or are you going to get much time together as a team before you actually get on the ice over there?
So the way it's worked, obviously we got accepted into the games. We qualified for the games. So we decided to basically in England, in Bath, there is a push track that the Great Britain team use. So we had access to that, and it's like a running track that has a dry sled on a track that goes down, and that same concept as ice.
Yeah. And
we used that, and we had the 4-man on it, so we could practice the loading, trying different combinations. So that's been the kind of prep as a team. But mostly when it comes to bobsleigh, it's more of, maintaining that power, maintaining that speed. So a lot of sprints and a lot of like weightlifting based, like gym workouts.
So I watched a documentary ages ago. There was some Australian rugby player who went and did bobsled and qualified for might have been the Winter Olympics, certainly a World Cup, and they did serious amounts of leg squat work and gym work, and they were serious athletes and pushing some big weight. Has there been any physical changes that you've had to make in your own preparation, or was it just a matter of maximizing what you already had and just keep building on what you already had?
So the first, last year was my first season. As I said, 13 months ago, it was my first time on ice. So when I came back, and the next thing for me was thinking, hey, it's Olympic year. I need to be ready. And I'd say from February, March, I changed a lot. I kind of got a weightlifting coach, Keith Morgan. He's amazing. He's done a lot with the England team. And he actually fixed so much of me. He increased a lot of my power output. Before I joined him, I would reverse curl. I wouldn't be able to clean. Just had a terrible technique, but he helped me a lot. And, that with the sprinting, I have a sprinting background, so I was never going to didn't feel I was going to kind of struggle on that. Helped me be prepared in the most I could ever be.
Did you do anything nutrition wise to get your body fat down and to boost your strength, like, or was it just all pretty normal for you? Like, did you just keep doing what you were doing, or did you change anything in terms of your food, that kind of thing?
I'm the sort of person that, I'll eat, I'll eat whatever I want. Not terrible. I'm quite a healthy eater, believe it or not. Or bobsleigh season's another thing, but I'll get back to that. But in general, I do eat quite healthily with the training. I mean, if you want to recover, you need to eat and, eat the good food. So that's what I try and do.
Yeah. You were just mentioning bobsled season's another matter.
Yeah. All right. So, bobsleigh season, a lot of people just see us go down the slope and that's it. But, the sleds weigh, over 220 kg. And when there's a team of 4 or 5 sleds, because we had, there was not just our 4-man and 2-man, there was the girls teams as well. So before you know it, you're moving 200 kg sleds around all day. You're loading it onto the back of the truck. You're loading it off. You're flipping it. And especially when it's cold, you're going to burn more. So weight drops off. I mean, I even lost around 5-6 kgs in a few months. So it turns into, you need to eat, you need to put the calories on, you need to put on weight. So anything goes.
So you can have a bit of ice cream,
Oh yeah. Oh yes. And the fact we was in America, it was good. It was good.
Hey, tell me about your team, your teammates, and potentially some of the sacrifices that your team have had to make to go to Beijing. Because I know, obviously, the bobsleigh is not a huge sport in Jamaica. What about your team? Have they had to make any sacrifices for this journey? And what about yourself? Have you had to sacrifice anything to get to Beijing and to go on this journey?
Yeah. So, I mean, all of us have made sacrifices in one way or another. Pilot Shamwayne Stevens, he is fortunately to be part of the RAF and be a high performance athlete. So he's kind of been fine. But at the same time, he's had a newborn. So, he spent a month with his daughter before being away for 3 months. So he's given it up. We have Rolando Reed, he's one of the brakemen. He, gave up his job as a teacher to pursue this. We have Ashley Watson, another brakeman who gave up his job. He does physiotherapy. He even was doing a master's while out in America, and for him to pass was amazing. And me, I wasn't able to work. Giving up a lot of time. I'm actually planning to get into cybersecurity / cloud computing, and
cool.
to be able to prepare myself for that and work and train and everything. I had to put that on the side, and so not having a job has obviously affected me financially and everyone financially. And we also have Nimrod Turgot, who's another brakeman who came out for part of the season but had to go back to Jamaica. So we've all kind of given up a lot. We've been at loss, and it doesn't help as well that Jamaica is such a small nation. We don't have ice. There's no ice there, and sponsorship and stuff goes a long way for us. And when you don't have the funds, it makes things harder. So there's been struggle all across the board, but the fact that we was able to kind of turn it into a positive and get to the games is massive.
Mate, it's unbelievable. But just as an example for those who are listening, who are the big bobsled nations? And in terms of the budget for the top teams, what are the differences? Like, what are you competing against when you actually get to Beijing?
So probably the easiest way, and what a lot of people do relate bobsleigh to, is F1 on ice. So big nations being Germany, I would, my opinion, being there, probably be the biggest. They have a government funded program. So they have their own sleds, they have their own equipment. We also have Canada, we also have America. But we're competing with that. They have so many sets of runners. They have mechanics. They have coaches that they have funds to burn, right? Whereas we don't own our own sled. We've had to borrow our 2-man and 4-man, or the 4-man for sure. We don't have the access to everything they have. So when you have, let's say, McLaren in F1, and let's just say we'll probably not even be in F1, we'll be a league low. So that is the difference.
Look, it makes sense, and it's a good example for people to understand. When you actually get to Beijing, what's that going to look like for you guys? Are there COVID restrictions still in place? Like, how does it actually work in the Games Village? Is there going to be, like, I think for the Summer Olympics they had, like, the Australians were over in one place and then the Americans were in another place. Is that going to be the same type of thing when you actually get to Beijing?
Yeah. So the rest of the four-man crew is actually out there already. I've had to stay back to kind of get some documents, which sucks, but hey, I'll be there, so it's all good. But yeah, it's looking similar to the Summer Games. It's very restrictive, and I think, for China, they need to kind of keep everything. How should I say? They need to show that they're doing the most to try and combat COVID and the spread of it, which is understandable. So there's a lot of barriers between seats, and you have to keep separate, and being ushered around by members of volunteers and stuff. So that's part of it. But I think as an athlete, we don't want to let that kind of ruin our experience. So it's just part of the games.
Are you looking forward to seeing other sports when you get there, and maybe experiencing some of the different, meeting some of the different athletes? And is there any particular winter sport that you like? Like, I love ice hockey. Like, to me, that's a big one. Well, what about yourself? Yeah,
I'm just kind of looking forward to just being in that atmosphere. I can't wait to be on the village. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. I'm looking forward to meeting, maybe, like, I want to see a bit of the speed skating. I always kind of loved how they look really cool going around and just how quick they go. Ice hockey is pretty cool. We actually have there's a Jamaican ice hockey team, but they didn't actually qualify for the games, unfortunately. But yeah, ice hockey is pretty cool. Maybe figure skating as well. There's something about kind of like just being on ice and skating to that music's pretty cool. Yeah. So
hey, was it weird running? Was it weird running on an ice for the first time?
So the spikes that we have, they have on the tiptoes, they have like hundreds of like metal spikes. So it's actually, in a way, better than running on a track in track spikes. You're planted more, and you can actually get up to speed on that. So it was weird, but you just have to remember to stay on your tiptoes. Don't go on your hill, because if you go on your hill, you're going to slip and hurt yourself.
Have you had any accidents yet going down?
Yeah, I've had a few. My first kind of week of four-man loading on the slide, because we have slide handles and you've got to jump on the slide and then load in. I actually fell getting in and kind of slid in the ice, and was like, no. But I've had a few crashes. Okay? I was fine. A bit of I was fine. But I've had a few crashes. They're not nice. Going crashing at 80 plus miles an hour and pulling 5Gs around the corner isn't nice.
Do you do any training for that? Like, I imagine you do a lot of neck strength stuff, a lot of stability stuff, so that if you do have those accidents, you're okay. But can you train for that, or is it a matter of?
The thing is, it's like we as much as be prepared for a crash. That's not the aim of being in the back of the sled, or being in the sled. It's just about having that trust. It's about the driver knowing the track well, having the runs, and it's more just being prepared for a crash. One of the things, the scariest things in a crash is ice burn. So we wear a thing called a burns vest, which kind of dissipates the heat on the shoulders. Yeah. So that's one of the things, but also obviously helmets and banging your head in the ice. That's the other thing. So concussions, but you can't really prepare for an ice burn. You can't really prepare for a concussion. It's just kind of. So what I like to do what I do in a crash is I try and just pull myself up into the sled a bit. Because I'm literally, my head's down, and I just pull myself just to get my shoulder off the ice. Yeah. Because I've never felt a burn like that. But there isn't really anything you can do to prepare for it. It's just hoping we don't crash, really.
Yeah. What about preparing for the actual race? So, like, when you get to the track in Beijing, will you have a few opportunities to go down the track prior to actually competing? And is it Yeah, is it like the movie where the driver's actually going through and looking at the turns and memorizing the turns? Like, what's the actual preparation like for the race?
So let's say that the week leading up to a race, we have training runs because we have to qualify for the race. You know, it's just not we've gone to Olympics, we're just going to race. We have a week of qualifying, and every morning they allow anyone to go down the track to see the curves, and that's why sometimes you kind of before a race you'll see the pilot doing a mind run, so they close their eyes and they're like going around the track. It looks a bit funny, but they're kind of visualizing. Yeah, so we do get the chance to go down the track and see how the curves are, to where you maybe need to steer or hold a pressure, and you literally have to get down the track twice to qualify the sled. You have to get down the track twice on 4 runners to qualify, so you can't crash and cross the line. You have to go down on 4 runners to qualify. But the day of the race, they don't usually allow you to walk down the track to kind of see it. You can walk on the outside, but you're not allowed in.
So it's similar to F1 where you kind of have to have the turns in your head and you memorize it as you beforehand, so that when you get to the track, it's all pretty much done. I got to ask you about your rugby career. So you're going to the Commonwealth Games for Jamaica as well, is that right?
So the aim is, so they haven't qualified yet. There was meant to be a tournament to qualify this in February, literally the same time that I'll be competing in bobsleigh, but it was cancelled due to obviously COVID. So we're just waiting on whether they're going to get another date for it, or if they don't, we will actually qualify based on the last result of the same competition. So we, Jamaica and Canada, would automatically qualify for the games.
So what is this the Commonwealth Games in Australia, the one coming up?
No, the Commonwealth Games is actually in Birmingham, England.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool. So, mate, that'll be a cool experience as well. So once you've done the Winter Olympics, it's just back to rugby. Do you think you'll continue doing bobsled going forward and maybe try and qualify for the next Olympics, or is it just, see how
I'm not young. I'm 32 now. So if I'm going to be able to be in the sled at the age of 36, that'll be a big achievement. But I'll see how this kind of the Olympics go, and I'll get back to the rugby, as I said, and just see how it goes from there, and just see how my body's holding up.
Mate, I love it. So, what did Jamaica have to do to actually get a medal at this Olympics? Like, how would that look? How would that feel?
I mean, it's hard to even explain. It would be amazing. Like, every athlete goes to the Olympics to try and get gold, right? And we're doing the same thing. It's going to be tough, but we're going to give our all. And let's just say we get the gold. I would scream. You would hear me screaming.
Mate, I think there would definitely be a Cool Runnings 2.0 if that happens, mate.
Yeah,
that'd be unreal.
That would be amazing. But I think as a nation and as a legacy and as showing kind of progression as a nation, I think we want to better 14th, as that's the best Jamaica's ever finished at the games. We're going for gold, but we want to kind of leave a lasting legacy of we're showing progression as a nation, and to show that we can compete.
So for us outsiders who don't really understand, how many teams actually qualify for the Olympics? So if you're coming 14th, that's out of how many teams?
If I'm correct, in the 2-man there's 30 sleds, and in the 4-man there's 28.
Okay, so 14th is still quite amazing, really. That's pretty awesome, man. Anything above that would be pretty special, I'd imagine. Yeah,
I think wherever we finish, for where we've come from, and what we've done, what we've got to get to the games would be amazing. But 14th is definitely something that we're eyeing to bear.
Mate, very cool. That's all I had for you, mate. I really, really appreciate your time, mate. The 12-year-old boy in me who is obsessed with Cool Runnings would be absolutely thrilled right now. So thank you very much. Where can people find you on social media? Where can people learn more about the team?
So my personal page is Matthew Wilson 89, but also you can follow the team on JBSF ED, which is with the Jamaican Bobsleigh Federation Instagram page, and from there you can kind of find all the athletes that are competing.
Mate, awesome. Thank you so much, mate. Best of luck to you and the team. I'm super grateful for your time, and hope you get over to Beijing soon and join the boys and really enjoy it, mate. You know.
Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for having me,
mate. Have a great day. This will be out in a couple of weeks, so I'll tag it all over social media so we can get some people following the team. And yeah, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.